Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng blasts a racist SARS employee's bid to be reinstated. The ANC calls for President Jacob Zuma to step down are premature and unfounded. Americans are now deciding between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. A very good evening to you. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandile Gangos. Good evening.
To comment on our stories, find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are SARS racism and Dlamini.
Racism in the workplace can cost you your job. Today, South Africa's highest court overturned a Labour court ruling that ordered SARS to reinstate a racist employee who twice used the K-word. Delivering a unanimous ruling, Constitutional Court Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng said the K-word amounted to hate speech and the worst kind of verbal abuse.
Nearly a decade ago, then SARS Commissioner Pravin Gordhan fired Jacobus Johannes Kruger, a SARS official who had twice referred to his supervisor using the K-word. Gordhan did this despite a SARS disciplinary inquiry ruling that Kruger be issued a written warning and suspended without pay for 10 days. Kruger successfully challenged his dismissal at the CCMA. SARS has spent years trying unsuccessfully to argue that it could not be expected to reinstate a blatant racist. That is, until now.
It is constitutionally and relationally intolerable to have any racist daring enough to refer to fellow employees as within the employ of SARS. His African core employees know that he called one of them and that he regards them as lazy, incapable of leading him, and intellectually inferior to him solely because of their race. They would be entitled to feel extremely offended and regard as highly insensitive of SARS to keep in their midst someone like Mr. Kruger.
This ruling is arguably a strong statement that racism in the workplace cannot and should not be tolerated. More than that, it's also a warning to employees that making racist utterances in the workplace could cost them their jobs. The Constitutional Court has ruled that SARS should pay Kruger the 6-month salary severance package it had promised him. Mogoeng has also used this ruling to question why blatant racism continues to be part of life in South Africa 2 decades into democracy. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
A meeting between the President, Justice Minister and NPA head took center stage as Mcebo Dlamini fought for bail today. The student leader faces charges of malicious damage to property, theft, assault and public violence. He's appealing a lower court's decision to deny him bail last month. Dlamini will find out tomorrow if he'll be released from custody.
These Fees Must Fall members are here to support their leader. Inside, lawyers from Mcebo Dlamini are trying to get him out of prison where he's been held for nearly a month. They say his incarceration is politically driven.
It is difficult to conceive of any legitimate and lawful meeting between the Minister of Justice, the President and the National Director of Public Prosecutions in respect of student protests. And apparently in the absence of the Ministers of Education and Finance or even the Commissioner of Police. The only reasonable conclusion is that the affected politicians sought unduly and improperly to influence the prosecution of student leaders, as has happened with the accused.
We can't accept, and there is no evidence to suggest that that meeting specifically said we must target Mr. Dlamini.
The defense insists the charges are laughable.
In this particular case, we will go as far as to show that the state, in its various guises, is doing nothing less than simply to try and reintroduce detention without trial through the back door.
But the state argues Dlamini's conduct during the protests can't be ignored.
To now say, because there was a meeting of politicians, that this case loses its legitimacy would be that double-edged sword only swinging one way. To say that that decriminalizes criminal conduct because of a meeting, I would submit is not the finding that this court
No,
can make.
not making that finding.
After nearly 4 hours of heated deliberations between the state and the defense, Mcebo Dlamini will know on Wednesday whether his bail appeal has been successful. Malungi Elobui, Palm Ridge.
Calls for President Jacob Zuma to step down are premature and unfounded. That's the view of the ANC following yesterday's National Working Committee meeting. Secretary General Gwede Mandashe says state capture findings should be treated with caution as they're inconclusive and must still be tested. He has also rubbished the DA's motion of no confidence in the president as a frivolous annual ritual.
3 issues were discussed at the National Working Committee meeting: university fees, the state of capture report, and the proposed motion of no confidence in the president. Earlier this year, the Constitutional Court ruled that the Public Protector's remedial action was binding. That didn't deter the NWC from finding Thuli Madonsela's state of capture report wanting.
The ANC is of the view that, however, the observations and remedial actions in the state of capture report are inconclusive and contain no binding findings referring to guilt of any party. It should be a commission of inquiry established like any other judicial commission of inquiry.
On the question of President Jacob Zuma's removal from office, the NWC was clear.
Calls also for the stepping down of the president using the report as a basis thereof, as far as we're concerned, is that they are premature and unfounded.
Mr. Mantashe took issue with the public manner in which members engaged the party. Last week, ANC veterans called for a face-to-face meeting with President Jacob Zuma.
The NWC has resolved to constitute itself as the delegation to meet with the veterans who have indicated the need for a platform of engagement.
The General Secretary had this to say about the Hawks probe of Pravin Gordhan and other senior government officials.
The question of state institutions getting into the political terrain, it is always dangerous. Not only for the ANC, it is dangerous for the institution themselves. So we didn't discuss it. It's an act of desperation.
As the ANC's elective conference in December next year draws closer, there are once again calls for unity.
The ANC can only make a big difference if it is united and is cohesive.
With demands for change getting louder and divisions growing within the ANC, the task ahead may be difficult. Angelo Fick, Johannesburg.
Let's head to KwaZulu-Natal now, where violence at Durban's infamous Cleveland's Hostel is once again rearing its head. A leader of the recently formed peace committee established to stop any further unrest has been gunned down. It comes after an attempt to hit another committee member last month.
After a series of murders over 2 years, Cleveland's Hostel residents enjoyed a reprieve from the violence. Some attribute this to the signing of a peace accord by warring factions in July. But it hasn't lasted long. On Monday, the leader of the Block 52 Peace Committee was gunned down while returning from court. He was the target of what's believed to be a drive-by style shooting.
The suspects fled the scene using their own getaway vehicle, and up to now there's no arrest made. The motive for the killing is still unknown at this stage, and we cannot confirm whether this is linked to the hostel problems.
This is not the first attack on the Peace Committee. Last month, another member was targeted but survived.
The Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, who is acting right now, Major General Langa, established a task team that is investigating these incidents. So we are assuring the community that we will make sure that those who are involved in these attacks will be arrested.
Former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela's report on Cleveland's found that authorities had failed to adequately protect residents. The Community Safety MEC says government is addressing those concerns. Desan Tathia, Durban.
On a lighter note, a young Eastern Cape farmer has beaten the odds. 28-year-old Chilidzi Machidzula last month won the Toyota Young Farmer of the Year award for the Eastern Cape after turning a ramshackle farm into a successful business.
Affectionately known as Chili, Chilidzi Machidzula's day starts before dawn.
He personally oversees the milking of his many cows. Growing up in Limpopo, his dream was to become an engineer, but a friend convinced him to study agriculture. With the cows out grazing, the hard work begins. Machadzula's been managing Little Barnett for 9 years now.
When we started milking in October 2007, we started with only 49 cows. And fast forward to today, we're milking about 530 cows. At the beginning, we were sending about just over 1,000 litres. Now we're doing close to 11,000 litres.
A prominent local dairy farmer recognized his potential while he was still studying and mentored him.
He was 19 years old at the time, and the development of this whole farm we basically did together.
There was no infrastructure on the farm and no capital to get it up and running. But with the right guidance, Machadzula has created a successful business using a share milking scheme. He is now a 40% shareholder with 14 staff members. Experts say support is the key for emerging farmers' success.
Government seems to be preoccupied with simply transferring land and focusing on land, not on people. Focus on people first, and then they'll be able to utilize the land.
Machadzula is not stopping here. He plans to build a bigger dairy and he wants to be milking 900 cows in the next 3 years. Sandy McCowan, Alexandria, Eastern Cape.
What an inspiration. Let's look beyond our borders now, where it's D-Day as Americans head to the polls to elect the country's 45th president. With voting underway, Hillary Clinton maintains a slight lead over rival Donald Trump. The presidential hopefuls went head-to-head last night in a last-ditch attempt to win votes. They appealed to voters in the battleground states of North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Michigan. And a giant sinkhole has swallowed up a 5-lane street in the center of one of Japan's biggest cities. The collapse began early this morning near the busiest station in Fukuoka City. No injuries have been reported. 16 University of Pretoria students arrested for contravening a court order have been released on 1,000 rand bail. The students were arrested in Hatfield yesterday after they picketed on campus. UP obtained an interdict forbidding demonstrations on university grounds. The arrested students claim to have been holding a night vigil for slain UJ students. They say they were not protesting. We end with this. Exams at Wits University have gone ahead without disruption. About 4,000 students wrote tests yesterday. This after an urgent interdict to stop the exam was rejected by the South Gauteng High Court last week. The institution has maintained a heavy security presence on all campuses. Additional security checks have also been put in place. The exams continue till the end of the month. If you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you, we are on Twitter and Facebook. Look for @eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's enca.com/direct. Your business news and your weather after this. The tough trading climate in South Africa has had an adverse impact on sales growth rates at Massmart. The listed retailer's revenue for the 10 months ending October grew by only 7.7% to 73.2 billion rand rather. If you exclude new stores, the rate is a mere 5.3%. Food and liquor sales, however, continue to perform well, while the builder's warehouse unit showed signs of recovery. In the first half of the year, the owner of Game Stores was forced to cut its dividend by half. Let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center. Here's Louis.
Hello everyone. A quick overview of tomorrow's weather conditions indicates quite a bit of cloud cover to start off the day over the interior, but we'll see a partly cloudy afternoon for most areas, quite clear in the western parts, and during the second half of the day showers and thunderstorms will be developing over much of the interior, and it will be especially wet from the northwest into the Free State as well as KwaZulu-Natal, and there's a high probability for rainfall in Gauteng as well. In KZN we'll see the cloud cover increasing as the day goes on, eventually bringing wet weather to most parts of the province later on. A few thunder showers once again developing for some parts of the Eastern Cape, while there's going to be light rain along the coastline where it will be mostly cloudy and quite cool. Cool weather continues along the southern coastline of the country, along with a bit of light rain for Plettenberg Bay, George as well as Mossel Bay. Morning showers possible for Beaufort West and Oudtshoorn, while along the western coastline it will be clear. In the Northern Cape, thunder showers will be confined to the far eastern parts of the province. Portsmouthburg, you're in with a very low probability, a high of 33 degrees in the afternoon. And in the Free State, there's a 60% chance for showers and thunderstorms, lots of cloud for Bethlehem and Harrismith, keeping things cooler with a high of 23 degrees. A partly cloudy afternoon in the northwest, giving way to thunder showers later on in the day. Mahikeng, 17 and 30, your temperatures. And in Limpopo, we're also expecting it to be partly cloudy and warm to hot. Thunderstorms for most areas, but Phalaborwa will be dry once again, where it's going to be very hot and humid. A very low possibility for thunder showers in Skukuza, while scattered storms will move in over the southern parts of Mpumalanga. And we're also expecting a 60% chance for thunder showers into Gauteng. It's still going to be a warm day. Johannesburg, you get to a high of 26. On Thursday, we're expecting very wet weather to develop over the Free State, especially for the northern parts of the province, and a couple of showers will be possible for Sutherland as well as Graaff-Reinet. And on Friday, it's going to be a mostly cloudy, much cooler and wet day for Gauteng and Mpumalanga as well as KZN.
Thank you, Louis. After the break, Lion King composer Lebu M leaves his fiancée to marry his ex-wife Angela. Welcome back. Lion King composer Lebu M is set to remarry his ex-wife Angela, and musical greats back Hillary Clinton.
And with that, here's a wrap of your entertainment news.
In a bizarre twist, Lion King executive producer Lebo M has left his fiancée for his ex-wife, Angela Ngani Kasara. He's confirmed he will soon be marrying the woman he divorced in 2013. Lebo M was engaged to actress and singer Zoe Mtayane last year, but after just a few months, the romance has fizzled out. His relationship with his former wife was rekindled in September, and they've been seen together at several events. The wedding is expected to take place early next month in Egypt.
The choice tomorrow couldn't be any clearer.
Several musicians are rallying behind Hillary Clinton as America heads to the polls today. Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi performed in Philadelphia on Monday night in support of the Democratic candidate. Madonna, Lady Gaga, and hip-hop artist Jay-Z have all come out to back Clinton. Polls show her slightly ahead of the Republican hopeful Donald Trump. And in Britain, Prince Harry has hit back at the media for intruding on the private life of his new American girlfriend, Meghan Markle. His office has fought to halt defamatory stories from reaching the papers ever since his relationship with the actress was confirmed. The prince says the media has subjected her to a wave of abuse and harassment.
A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng blasts a racist SARS employee's bid to be reinstated. The ANC says calls for President Jacob Zuma to step down are premature and unfounded. Americans are now deciding between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Until the next time we see, take care.